Okay, so I'm trying a tripod here. So if I mess up, too bad. Okay, so check it out. There's one thing that always stuck to me. Alright? So, I'm still trying to figure out the things of setting up a tripod, so don't hate. Okay, so there's something that I've always liked, okay? And it's this one scripture because to me, in all the Bible, it tells something awesome. So, got my mom's like 4,000-year-old Bible. It's actually in very good condition. Okay, so we know that in the Bible everything is, everything's good, in the New Testament. The Old Testament is like a war movie. You know what I mean? You got everything. I always remove and put on my glasses, take them off because of the glare. I can see the glare. But this is the one that really gets me because I'm still young, you know? So think about this. Just think. This is why I like the book of Ecclesiastes. It speaks the truth. It's not harmonious and all that. It speaks the legitimate truth. So check this out. Rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer in the days of your youth, and walk in the ways of your heart, and in the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these things God will bring you into judgment. Therefore remove sorrow from your heart, and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. The first time I read that was, I don't know, like 15 years ago, something like that. And sometimes whenever people read the Bible, they, some people don't get it. Some people just don't. I've worked under people. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to tarnish people's names, but it is true. I've worked under people that walk around. I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. Kind of like pompous, like their hubris is just So they would walk around the dealership holy. Whenever I worked at a dealership, I was contracted there. And they would always tell the customers or the person, oh yes, I'm a big, big, big believer in God. Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. And I'll never forget one time he was talking to a lady that was my customer. She was in the service department and all that. And I saw her. And I remember hearing him say, I'll never forget this. He sat there in his suit and he goes, well, if you want to talk to the pastor, you have to talk to me first. And I looked at him and I was like, what? This guy's, wow, kind of like a pontificator, you know what I mean? And here were his pontification. So I walked up, talked to her, and all that. All that I heard was, God, and that's true. That's true. Some people are like, they're legitimate, they walk with God, they're proud to say it. But I was cleaning outside this car, just wiping it down and all that. And he walks up, and we weren't in the greatest relationships as friends, but as business, no, it's actually backwards. In business, we're kind of like that. But whenever there was downtime and he would walk to the back and talk to me, we were cool. Hey, Chris, I'm like, hey, what's up? Because what you working on? So I'm outside working on his car, do my thing. And he walks up and goes, what are you doing? And I was telling this other person that worked for me, he was asking about the Bible. Now, some people may say, Chris, man, why are you talking about the Bible? Come on. No, I mean, I believe in God. I know that I'm a big sinner because that's why that's scripture. And he comes up and we're talking. He goes, what are you doing? I said, tell him about God, man, because the guy didn't know. It's not that he didn't believe, he didn't know. And he goes, oh, yes, I'm a big believer in God. I said, yeah, the Bible is a big mystery. Some people get it, some don't. He's like, oh, yeah. And I said, basically, the Bible is like a giant parable. And he's wiping the windshield with me, and he goes, what's a parable? And I said, well, it's a parable. They're like almost like analogies. And he goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I've only read the Bible once. And I said, what about you? He goes, every year. I'm a big believer. And I said, oh, so you don't know what a parable is? No. And I was all like, okay, whatever. But that scripture always stuck to me because basically what it's saying, and it hits you whenever you're young. I mean, honestly. I mean, because it makes you realize the things that you're still doing in your youth. Okay, now I'm not saying anything about elderly people, but I can see where somebody could be like, dang, man, I made a lot of mistakes. How can I make them up? I'm 6,000 years old. Basically what it's saying is that in your youth, do whatever you want. If you see something that's pleasurable in your eyes, do it. If you see something that you want and it's in your heart that you want it, do it. Even if it's for vanity, I'm guilty of that one. Hey, I've done it. Don't shoot me. I've done it. I have. I'd sit there and I drive absolutely around in a Corvette. I've done it. Now, did I need to have the Corvette? No, I didn't. But I got such a good deal on it, I couldn't pass it up. I was like, man, because I had just sold my other car, and with the Corvette, it was like nothing out of pocket. It was still out of pocket, I'm not going to say how much, but it was still like, you can't pass this up. So anyway, I've had the big TVs, I've had all this, and there was a time, and sometimes now, where I do things for vanity. Man, I want that, man. That thing's cool. I want it. Yeah. I'm guilty of it. So what it's saying is do whatever you want. Go ahead. If you're young or whatever, because the Bible doesn't actually tell us what young is. So, you want to do all this and all that, go ahead. Just go ahead. But the next part is the one that's the best. But know that for all these things, God will bring you to judgment. And what's important about that, and this giant book, a lot of what that book says is what God gave us. Free will. Do whatever you want. Go in. Because that's the main test. That's the main test. Because do you think you're going to be able to enter the kingdom of heaven? God's just going to be like, hey, here are the keys. Go ahead. Hey, angels, move out of the way, man. This guy's coming in. No. You have to earn that. You have to earn it. And I believe that. Because at the end of your life, God's going to sit there and be like, I gave you free will. What did you do with it? Did you spend so much time worrying about you and all this and every single thing that you got? But how much time did you give me? This is the kingdom. And some people be like, well, that's not nice of God. How can he do that? How? He's God. Y'all think, a lot of people, they always think, hey, well, that will never happen to me because we got God. He's a forgiving God. We got his son. He forgave everybody. He did all this. Yeah, but, he said, deny me before your people and I'll deny you before God. Well, Peter denied him 3 times. But he made up for it. So that one kind of still gets me. It makes me wonder. So that scripture says a lot. It's not just what it is. It says like 1,000 things. Makes you really think. He gave us free will. What are we doing with it? Okay? So for those that may be all like, well, I'm not a big believer in God, dude. I really don't believe, I don't believe in Jesus. Okay, all right. I get that. So I'm going to put it down to reality terms for people that may not believe. Okay? And for people that may be like, I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in any of that. Okay, that's fine. If y'all believe that once you die, you die. That's it. Okay? Once you die, you die. Life is over. Fade to black. Okay. So, still, what are you doing with your life? God, the glare is driving me nuts. I got to sit like this. Okay? So, what are you doing with your life? Are you too worried about going out and partying and all that and meeting all the guys and girls and just going hanging out and have a good time and all that? Okay, that's fine. But at the end of your life, I bet that if you were just to sit there and think, with the one life that I was given, what did I do with it? Did I make myself a better person? Did I have a positive impact on other people? Or did I take and use people for myself? Did I lead people on? Did I steal from them? Did I hold a good job and make a career? Even though, you don't have to have a big grandiose house. You don't. You don't. You live within your means. You don't have to live in a mansion. You don't. You don't. Some people say, man, my house isn't the best. Hey, you got a house. Okay? Some people, they're going to live their whole lives in that level of society. Because no matter what, okay, you got your CEOs and all that, somebody's got to be the janitor. We know that. Somebody's got to be the busboy. We get that. There's nothing wrong with that. Because we're trying too hard to compare ourselves to the other people that I don't want that. Look at my job and all. And that brings up the story. My first job was at Pelican's Wharf. All that I did was bus tables and wash dishes. But then I was able to be selected into food prep because I was fast. I was just cutting everything, getting everything. So I would go in the mornings and I would do food prep. And then I would go later on that night. Okay. And soon I became, and it is what it is, I became like the without the title, like the head busboy, Some people would be like, dude, come on, man. No, I was proud of it. It was like, hey, come on, let's get this done, boom, boom, the food prep, all that. Sometimes we'll run out of the salad bar in the middle of service. The other guys are like, what do we do? And I'm all like, chill out. And I'll get the stuff, I'll start prepping it. Okay, somebody's got to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. But one day, I was sitting outside, 15% remaining. I was sitting outside with my grandfather. And at this time, he was 92, 91, 90 years old. I don't remember. And I'm sitting outside with him and I'm complaining. Remember, I'm young. How many of y'all ever, or your kids? And I'm young and I'm complaining. Man, Grandpa, I'm just a busboy. I don't make any money. I don't really like my job. And he's just sitting there, Mr. Wisdom of Life. Hold on. You'll see it. Ow. Okay. This picture alone, I see it. That's the man that raised me. What is up with this glare? Right there. Look at the wisdom. You can see it. He's lived a life. So, he's just sitting there. And, I didn't know it, but it was coming. He's sitting there drinking his coffee, Coffee, 2 sugars. That's the way he did it. He goes, let me tell you something. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, doesn't matter what you do in life. As long as you have a job, a roof over your head, and a family, you're a blessed man. Stop complaining. I don't ever want to hear it again. And it actually hit me that day. I was all like, wow, he's right. He didn't ever go to school. He never went to school. Never. Born in 1913. Think about it. He was 16 years old had his little girlfriend and all that, about to start a family. Great Depression hits. So I would sit there at night with him in bed. He'd be laying there and I'll be laying next to him. And I'm like, Grandpa, he's like, yeah, says, tell me about the Great Depression. Because, I mean, everything that our generation studied was the 20th century. And he would tell me it was bad. And I remember I told him, I said, what was it like with JFK? He goes, that was surprising. So, how big was Elvis? Oh, he was big, Ask him stuff that a kid would ask. You know what I mean? And then I hit subjects. I'll be like, how were the Beatles? I don't know. I'm like, wow, okay, I guess. And I'll do things, and he goes, I didn't have time for that. I don't know que la Beatles y la pinche Elvis. Free will. And he would say, I didn't have time for that. I said, why? He goes, I was working. And I'll never forget, I was all like, he was busy working. He didn't have time for any of that. So what I'm saying to some of those that don't believe, okay? He had a plan to work, raise a family. At the end of his life, he had 5 children. One that went to college, became a teacher. One that went to college, and I went to her graduation in Mississippi. She became a registered nurse. One of his grandchildren became a doctor in Corpus. The lady that raised me, she had no major accomplishments in life because all she did was work. But that work ethic stuck with me. And every single thing that I've done in my 20 years of working, because I'm on disability, but I worked for 20 years. 20. With one vacation. One week off of vacation. Whenever I was in Utah, I worked 9 weeks straight. 63 days. But with God's blessing, I was able to get a house at 26 years old. I still stuck with that mindset of my grandfather. Still stick with it today. And I still stick with what this says. I'm not actually hitting the Bible, hey. And because you only get one life. What are you doing with your life? Are you too busy on TikTok and, Instagram and all this? Because, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of doing what I'm saying. I'm including myself. Like, I'm looking at the camera. There it is, looking at the camera. So it's like I'm talking to myself. So I could watch this video in 5 years, and I could be looking at myself telling me, and I'll be like, dang it. So what I'm about to say, I'm in this. So I'm going to say, whatever. Just, I'm with y'all. Okay? I'm there. At the end of your life, or at the end of 10 years or so, you could look back and say, how much time did I spend doing that, but it never actually made my life better? What are we doing with the one life that we got? Are you spending it on nonsense? I don't mean this. Are you spending it on nonsense, or are you trying to make your life better? Are you making a positive impact on others? Are you? Because everybody in their life, somewhere, doesn't matter if you were born with a silver spoon, golden spoon, there was one part in your life to where somebody helped you out. No matter what. Bought you your first car, or paid for your college, paid for your apartment while you were at college. Or even if you didn't go to college, whenever you graduate on, you realize, wow, life is harder than what it is. We all know that one. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It's like, whoa. And they're like, here, let me help you out. Do you need this? Yeah, I need some. Everybody has done it. To where you're at that point where somebody has to help you. And there's help from people that is enormous. And if you think back, like me, what would I have done if that person wouldn't have helped me? And you know who I'm talking about. If that person wouldn't have helped me. So flip it. How much help have you given others? And I'm not talking about this. It could be this. So we'll put that in there. But to be able to sit down with somebody and calm them down if they're upset. To speak words of wisdom into that person. To lift somebody up whenever they're having a bad time. Because some people think whenever it comes to help, that it's something big. Doesn't have to be something big. I lost all this weight. This shirt used to fit me tight. Oh well. I know that whenever I'm having a bad day, I could call up somebody and they'll come over and help me. I've made giant messes on this floor. I'm not going to go into detail. And I've had people help me. Those are the ones that God looks down on. This is, if you don't believe, okay. And you can just turn the video off. Those are the ones that God looks down on and be like, that one. They're not doing it for credit, for special attention, for points on their final exam. They're doing it because they care. So, along with that scripture, with the free will that you're given, what are you doing with it? Well, if Jesus is so good, or if God is so good, how come these things happen? How come this one person does all this? I thought that it was so golden and good. Why does he let this happen? Free will. That's the ultimate test. He gives us free will to do whatever we do. What are we doing with it? That's the thing. That's why I know I'm not the perfect person. I hate it whenever people say that. Nobody's perfect. Be quiet. Just go on with that delusion. That, well, nobody's perfect, so I could go and steal this. Nobody's perfect, so I could just go do this because, well, God, if I just ask for forgiveness, it's there. That's ignorance. That's what that is. The lesson is, in that moment, are you thinking, even if I am forgiven, is this actually the right thing to do? That's the temptation. The devil tempted God 3 times. 3 temptations. Jump off of this. Go ahead. Jump off. You're above everybody else. We're at the top of the kingdom. Show everybody that you're God. That you're Jesus. Jump up. The angels will catch you either way. Because isn't that what it says in it's Psalms 1, right? That the person's feet would never touch the ground. The angels would be there to protect them. And God and Jesus was like, no. That was the temptation. He could have done it and gotten away with it. Yeah, he's Jesus. He's JC. But in that moment, he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he went back in time to Exodus, Deuteronomy, whatever it was, whenever Moses was telling the people, okay, everybody, before you enter, remember all that God has done for you. He provided water in the desert. He brought manna from heaven. Do not forget your God that has always provided and been there for you. Do not tempt God. Don't play around with him. You need to cooperate with God. Your obedience. So as you're about to have free will, do not forget the God. That's what Jesus brought back, and he told that to Satan. Do not tempt with God. Do not play with him. Do not force him. Don't say, hey God, didn't you say you were going to protect me? So I'm going to go do something really stupid right now. You got me, right? You got me? All right. And we've done it. I've done it. I've done that. Well, I'm going to buy this car real quick. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Whatever. But God's got me. Don't worry about it. God's got me. You're late on the payments. God, man, I thought you said you got me, man. Where are you at, God? God, are you even real? I don't believe it. All of a sudden, you're forcing your problem that you made onto somebody else. Here you go. Fix it. And all along, God's up there and he's like, that wasn't even part of my plan. You did that. You did that. What if that car situation or that TV that you want, remember? Remember? That TV that you want or that house that you couldn't afford you got, that wasn't part of my plan. I gave you free will. You want to go out and do this? No. That's the lesson. Free will. So what do we, in closing, I know I went off on this one. I went a little too long. But in closing, what are we actually doing with the free will that we got? Because at the end of our life, we are going to be judged. So take an inventory of what are we actually doing with the life that we have. And thank you for the tripod. I actually really like it. And some people, I get this, my disclaimers, guilty. Chris, we know you believe in God. Hey, this is my little proof. I do read the Bible. At home, I do. There are the things that are stupid. I get that. I'm not going to say everybody, I'm not going to say that. This is on me. My mistakes that I make are the mistakes that I make. And sometimes to learn the lesson of it may take 5-10 years. I'm getting that. I'm still learning. So if you think that you got everything planned and everything worked out, still think about it. What are we doing with the one life that we are given, whether you believe in God or not? What are you actually doing with it? Thank you for the tripod.